It's difficult to get the right splash page for the video today to give the right sentiment for the trend being bullish, corrective, so on and so on, because it's really quite a mixed bag. We've got Apple and Amazon heading higher. We've got Tesla heading lower. So there's a real mixed sort of bag there. So I won't do the indices here because they're not really relating to the stocks that much. So with Apple here, we're just continuing to move to the upside here, as you can see. Of course, nothing's in a straight line, so so you'll need to navigate that. But the important thing here is, as I probably would have mentioned yesterday, I know it gets a bit complicated when I've got so many lines on the chart here, but the important thing here is the 165, 172 and 180. Now there's lots of other important levels in here. I've got 170 here, but 168 is important. So after 5 comes 8. And then 8 also brings in a little group 2 of its own in here as well. So between, sometimes group 2, this is at minor degree, so it looks quite big here. Then you've got subgroup 2, which will be the little 68 in here, 168 and so on in here. Now, 168, yeah, that should be right on the nose there, because that's really where this market's working at. If I can get it there. Anyway, close enough. But if you know me a bit, you'll know that number 8, we call it a profit-taking number, and that's exactly what it's doing at the moment. But it's also not only in this group 2 of minor group 2, it's also in subgroup 2 here. So it will struggle here, but it's bullish because it's above 165. That's the sort of the main takeaway here. It's basically the previous high has also now become the support for this market, because you can see that it's come back and tested it and then made new highs here. So yes, it will struggle at number 8, but it's also in subgroup 2 of 8, and the next number up is 70, and then 70, you've actually got group 1 of 70, which is 71, 72 and 73. So that's all of group 1. Then you've got 75, and then you've got 78, which has got its little group 2 there as well. So the 65 and the 72 and the 80 are just the skeletons of group 2. There's a lot going on in there. But yeah, it's a numbers game, and you're learning about numbers, and there's different facets of numbers. We're just talking about price here. And obviously there's different ways to look at price as well. This is just one way of looking at it. I kind of like it, understanding the numbers, odd numbers, even numbers, numbers with zeros on them, because they attract people's attentions, don't they? They're shiny objects where people will, gravitate to put orders in the market, and then at those junctions, there's a whole, cluster of ideas and so forth, that number. So you can be pretty sure that there's going to be volatility there, when everything meets together. So, but look, basically Apple is still climbing. That's bullish, isn't it? So that's cool. That's all good. You can just stay with that trend. And Amazon here, I'll just got its earnings up here on the 27th. A lot of them have got like 24, 25, 26, 27. The ones that we cover anyway, obviously there's a lot more. So with Amazon here, I've first of all, I've moved the stop to this point here to get it to break even. We've got a little order here and a little order here, part positions. So we're kind of in between those two. So yeah, as far as the structure goes, I could take it from the spike here, but even if I take it, I don't really trust the spikes. To me, it just looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from here. So I'm not quite sure. And this being a market making platform, if you've got a CFD platform, then market makers need to make a market, and then they'll show that price there, So that's the tricky thing about market makers. So, but in Australia, they give us a chance to, to short stocks. We don't, I mean, America's, different. We don't have, we have European options over here, not American options. I'm not much of an option person. I don't know much about them. I've traded them in my early days, but they just didn't do anything for me, really. They were just probably a bit complicated for my simple mind, to be honest. So here we're looking at this whichever way you want to go from this low or this low. This trend is not completed yet, so this wave 4 could come a little bit lower here, but you can see we've got this sort of ABC pattern here, so we should push up. At least we've got the trade to break even, basically. We're at 105 here, so 5 is the second strongest number, so you just expect it to play out at that point. If the 104 became the resistance at that point, there would be a problem at that point, but otherwise it would be some sort of classic trading levels pattern coming into play here, and wherever that support is, that will support it back here and then push up at that point. So it's a bit of fluffing around at that point, so, but everything's going pretty much according to plan. Don't need that, so I'll just leave that at that. And NVIDIA here, it's also pushing up as well. So I'd been looking at this yesterday as 1 and 2 here, and going up for wave 3 here. It has made a new high here, but once again, we've got that little spike that come down here. So you could actually consider this actually up as an A and a B and a C wave. So this B wave would just come over to here at that point. And we've got 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the spike, So that's a little bit of an issue, but once again, we're in group 2 here, as I mentioned before, 65, 72, and 80. So I feel that if we just keep the stop out of the way and we don't get in the way of this, then it should be all right. I've only got part positions in here, but getting support on the 280 is the next step. And I'm sort of thinking, if that's not 5 waves down based on that spike, then we should, I mean, other point here too is that this particular move here, we can view it in 3 waves. So that's, probably could look at it in 5 actually with this, as 1, 2, 3, ABC for 4 and 5 overlap there. Yeah, so better off as an A and a B and a C for wave 4. So that means we should see 5 waves up here taking out the top here. Now we could go 3, 4 and 5 here based on these 5 waves, but I think that's a little bit small. I know markets like to get to big numbers, so I'm thinking we still need to move higher here as well. So I just think we'll just stay with it and see what happens here. Once we get these 5 waves here, then it's going to make things a little bit easier as well. That could pull back deeper here, of course. So so wherever that top is here, we can end up coming back into this space, back testing the 272 here, which is part of group. So it's tested it here. That's likely where it probably won't come to the 50-60%, but we're going to keep our stop out of the way. We don't want to get stopped out when everything is, there's enough boxes ticked to suggest that we got further upside on this. So we'll just be brave and stay with that. With meta platforms here, there's 2 things going on. First of all, yesterday and before that, we talked about a possibility of having from wave 4 here as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 waves up here having a top in play here. So we talked about that yesterday. Otherwise, we'll look at this as wave 4 here, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 for the 3rd wave. The 4th wave that can pull back to 38.2%. So roughly, we don't want to see the 210 becoming the resistance at that point. If we see the 210 at resistance, then we know that we're going to be, we know that there's going to be further downside at that point. But we'll just stay with the trend at the moment. Yeah, I mean, obviously I can see it getting a little bit tired here, the way it's, sort of rolling over here a bit, but we'll just see. When is it? 26th of April. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but we'll stay with that. Netflix here, so we were looking at it in a couple of different ways, but we weren't sort of going to do much until after this, but it has dropped here, so we can still just stay with our thing here. So we've got, just to establish this again, the point being here is that we have a clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 50-60% is in the box here. So I'd been looking at it in a couple of different ways, but the A, the B, and I mean, it might even be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and have a low end finished here. But if I take it to here, I still need to put that over there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. 5 waves here. So 1, 2, 3 now, 4 and 5 to finish off. So it can come a little bit lower here. So we don't have to worry about this for a day or two, and we'll look to go long when we see an impulse wave. So let's just assume for a moment this comes down here, then we can see a nice impulse wave here. Then we'll look to start to build in some positions over this side. But that's where we are at this point. I'm just going to leave that there because it lets me know that we've passed that until we're sort of past the earnings a little bit. Difficult to remember everything, so tricky enough remembering a few things. So Enphase. So I thought this was sort of interesting here. I'm just going to stay on track with this particular count of 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 here. And it does look like here that we've got little 3 waves up here, doesn't it? You know, some sort of little thing that pops out the top here. It's too small to call wave 5, I think, at this point. Better, and it's not 5 waves, it looks like 3. So I think we'll just look for some type of wave 4 correction. The 38.2% is at 220, so it can drop here a bit further. Obviously, it's, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know why that's in. Oh, that's probably from here. That's right. Yeah. Okay. I'll put that back then, because sometimes they're, you know, trend lines are. Sometimes they're useful, and they're kind of useful at the moment. It sort of squares it up a little bit, doesn't it? But yeah, so I think there's further upside here in terms of, you know, 5 waves up here. Will it be C of B up here, or will it be more of a bullish picture? I don't know, but it'll be interesting once we get past this here as 3, 4, 5, wouldn't it? You know, then we could become bullish at that point. So yeah, anyway, that's where we are there. Earnings on the 25th, so that's next week too. So Google here, yeah, so we need to have a look at the bullish and bearish picture of this situation. So the thing is here is that I've been looking at it as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here, and we've got 5 waves up here. Now these 5 waves can be counted a little bit differently, but you know, as a shell of an idea, as 5 waves, they look quite good from here. So we can play it out to that 5 wave structure here, which would mean there would be a top in here if we looked at it as the A, the B, and the C wave here. We know from the communications sector, which is also Alphabet in here, that we're just not finished yet. We're not finished because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, then as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. I suppose I could look at it here as an as down for wave 1 here, an A and a B and a C wave up here, but I don't even think we've got 5 waves up here. And obviously it's getting tired here. It's going to struggle here and look weak because it's at the old high and all the rest of it. But I feel there's still further upside here, even if it was corrective or bullish. So it doesn't there. So if that was going to be the case, then we need to come further up here as well for this. So you know, I think about this, try to think about it as being bullish and bearish, because this is one of the weaker markets here. Weaker because it basically hasn't risen from all of this. You know, it's not like it's trading up here somewhere. You know, it's one of the weaker ones in the market. And, you know, with everybody's talking about, you know, AI and GPT and transformers and so on and so on. So that's really eating up some of Google's advertising budget, you know, once being installed, you know, is installing that into their applications. And, you know, it is a real battle that sort of goes on now in those web browsers and that, you know, because of the operating system on your computers. If you're, you know, not a Mac person, then you know, at every turn you've got Microsoft you know, edging you towards using, forcing you in a way in some cases, well, quite forceful really, not forcing you, but guiding you strongly to use Bing rather than Firefox or Google or whatever, you know. So those little chatbots will be in everything. They'll be in Word documents soon, as Copilot and so on. So they're really sort of chewing into that market. So it'll be interesting to see how Google comes back from that. Anyway, so we've got this ABC, and you know, I have to point out that that's an ABC. It's pretty easy to spot. Now, we know with three-wave corrections that things can just double or triple in size, so I need to be aware of that. I can still see Apple and others going higher, so this will probably go higher as well, you know, so I've got to kind of figure out what's the bearish side to the upside and what's the bullish side to the upside. So, first of all, it is possible to come down here. It's possible. But it's not likely to do that just yet, I don't think. But I can't rule it out, so we just need to be a little bit mindful of that. I think what will happen is that it will come down to 100 here, because 100 is pretty much where the balance point is in all of this. So even though the 61 point is down here, so it's possible to move down further and then move up at that point. Okay, that's what I'm sort of thinking. But in that case, we'd have to look at this as a WXY, but it's not a big deal. And this would be an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave up here. So yeah, so I wouldn't really turn bearish until I either had the 100 as the retested resistance, but I would also need the correct impulse wave down here. So if I got 3 waves to the 50-60%, well, then I know it's bullish. If I got 5 waves to this area, then I know that we're bearish at that point. So that's pretty much sort of where we are. If we take on this bearish pattern, we're on the 50K, so we'll go to 1K, which will drill into that sort of area there. If we were looking at this as a top here, we're counting this up as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, then we'll need to look at this. It's a little bit tricky to look at this in terms of 5 waves down here, because it had that just fell out of bed here, you know. So I could be totally wrong, but I was just thinking that there's a 1 and 2 in here, and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 here. And if that was the case, then we'll have an A wave, a B wave here, and a C wave up here. So once we've got the B wave in, we can draw a line under that. We can go short under that point here. Now, I'm looking at it being, you know, will we get 5 waves down to that 61.8%, as I mentioned here? If we do get 5 waves down, then we know we can be in a bigger bearish picture to the downside. But otherwise, we also need to count this down as being corrective as well. Anyway, in the meantime, for the rest of this week, there's nothing to do here. Basically, that's the point. So if I go back to the... let's have a look at the bullish side now. So we'll go to the 20K. So there's a couple of different bullish counts, but I'm not going to like confuse you any more than I need to. So, but in a way, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 here. Now, it can come back to the 50-60%. So we're in the same sort of boat here. There is a possibility that I can have this as wave 1 here, and then this would make wave 2 over here quite a bit shorter than having it down here. If I drag this over to here, then I need to look for a bigger picture, a bigger ABC pattern at that point, you know, some sort of that A wave we're looking at, a B wave and a C wave here, and then up at that point. So there's a bit to do here. I don't think I need to go in any further than this. I don't need to go into the 100, because it dropped so fast, you can't see what it is in here. That's one of the little issues on the intraday, because normally I go to the intraday to save my ass, you know, because I don't know the big account. So I have to go into this, you know, to the minute count and then work back out, rather than going from top down I go from the inside out. It makes it a bit, I can build on that. I can build a safer pathway on you doing that particular method. So, but yeah, so let's just see how this goes out. We've got 5 waves here, so we know that after 5 waves we're going to get some sort of correction anyway. So let's just play that out here. So nothing to do here on that at the moment. This is Microsoft here. We can look at this as being the whole move up from the low here. We can look at it as an ABC here and have a low in place, and we're going into a bullish market. Here, I've just got it as an A and a B and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up for the C wave here. Now that can change. I wouldn't basically put that in stone either. And one of the other, a bit like Google really, we've got that 5 waves here. So we've got to kind of look. You can see that it's sort of also to the point here is from the top up here, the all-time high, to the low here. This little thing here is 61.8% here. So we can see that it's sort of shying away from the bright lights here at that 61.8%, and of course we've got 300 there as well. And you can also see that, it was strong here and now it's on a bit more of an angle, and we can see that it's sort of just vibrating here. So it's basically stalling here, isn't it? So it's telling you that it's weak at this point. And even if it was just, stalling to get accumulation to push higher, if it was going to push higher, then it's not going to go very far, is it? It's just going to hit that 61.8% and the 300 and that. So it's okay to be long because it's a bullish market, but just don't have any high don't even have any medium, have very low expectations really. So we need to see this trend. It's telling us that this trend is preparing to be rebalanced in a way. Basically, that's pretty much how I sort of see it. Now, it could just push up further from that point, don't get me wrong, but looking at how strong this was here and then how weak this side here is, it's telling me that it needs to have a rest and get itself together and move on from that point. So I think I've got different ways to count all this up through here as well. I don't want to this is just the bullish count, but it's kind of the same as well. I mean, I can go 1 and 2, and this in here is not very clear as well. This particular spike here is not on other markets. It's a market making thing as well, but it's a little bit difficult to get 5 waves out of this move here. I could look at this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here in that way. So I've been, I'll just quickly run through. So I've got quite a few different little counts for it really. This is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 up here. Not that it makes any difference. It still gives us a wave 3 top here. But it kind of gives me wave C here as well, as an A and a B and a C, the same as Googly. And then I go to this one here, 5, and I've got a slightly different count as well for 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And so I try to look at it, I try to look at it in different ways. This one here is telling me that, we can push up from here and push up to here and then here and then here. Now, I like that pathway. That's the normal pathway for something, to sit at number 8 here. And once it's, 8's a profit-taking number, and we've got 2 8s over here. So it's just doing its thing here like it should be doing. And then what happens? This, this consolidation over here, that eventually becomes the support. If it can push up here, then it'll come back here and push up here and then have an ABC over here and push here, and then that's the normal pathway for something to move higher, so that's what we'll look for. So I put these counts here because my intuition says that I should, and then I go back and when I've got time, I go back over and I'll go onto a 5-tick chart or 10-tick chart, and I'll make sure that that's actually 5 waves to that point. Then I'll need to check in here, and because I'm using a market making platform, I need to go to another platform to double check on that, and and just sort of work through things, because a lot of different platforms, you see, just give different prices for things. Bit bit weird, but there we go. So yeah, so this is a valid thing. So if this was going to push up here, then we need to know at what point that this is going to drop here as well. So we'll go into that and have a look. I'll just have a look here for this first. So this is another count, sorry, but yeah, this is also pushing up a little bit higher. So what I can say here is that as long as that low there stays in place, then that can be your stop at that point. Because if that fails to hold, then we're going to come down here. Now we'll either come down for this wave 4, or we'll come a bit deeper down for this wave 4. They're the two sort of options that we'll be looking at this point, and it would start from this high here. Even though the beauty is we got 3 waves here, so we know that it's corrective. We know that it's not the top of the market. I'm just a little bit unsure about this here, So, this could be an A wave to here, some sort of B wave to here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here, or come down a bit deeper here. So anyway, that's sort of where we are at the moment with this. A little bit tricky to understand, but that's sort of where I'm up to on it. So I don't know what's going to happen here, actually. So I thought this at first glance would be an ABC pattern here. But when I look at it, you can count it as 1 and 2 in here, and 3, 4, 5, making it impulsive here. But it doesn't look corrective up here either. Do you know what I mean? So there's lots of little things in here that make it a little bit difficult. So I won't worry about it too much. But yeah, this is what we're up against. We went through this with Tesla as well. Would it be up or would it be down? So we just, because I didn't know, I just said, for me anyway, to stay aside. Now for this trend here, I had a bit of a look at this. We're on 1,000 ticks here. I went to 100 ticks and had a bit of a look at it. I still need to go into a smaller time frame. So I need to go into 10 ticks to really pull this apart and get it right. But it was going to take me too long, so I didn't really have the time to do that this morning, but it's a job that needs to be done. But if I just had to guess, then we know that when we've got an old high over here, the market's going to come back and test it. So we could pretty much expect the 320 to come back and be tested. So you could pretty much expect it to come down to 318, at worst 315, but it's a long way into the thing. So 18 to 20 would be about right. I can see a few things here. I can see that the market is getting a little bit tired up here. So that tells me that at the beginning of the trend, we've got 1s and 2s in here, and then we've got the third wave in the middle, and then we're going to have a series of 4s and 5s. So this could be, we need to push higher. I can see that because we've got the beginning, we've got the middle, we've got the end. But I can say that we're going into probably the next degree down, green wave 3 here, and green wave 4 and 5 for 3 and 4, be something like that anyway, So we'll just see how that sort of plays out. If I get the time, I'll do the work in there. But if you're trading this, just keep the stop out of the way here at 312 at this point, and just hang on in there for a while. And Tesla, okay, there we go. So Tesla's got its earning thingy bobbies here, which is that's after the US session. So, well, that clarifies a few things, doesn't it? Because we've been looking at the market in both ways. So we can remove this, and we can remove this, and we can put this down here. We can remove this, and we can remove that because that low here is breached. And we can look at this in terms of this here coming down lower, and we'll put the B wave in here for that. And yeah, well, that's that really. So I suppose it's doing its thing right now, I guess. I'm not quite sure, but I'll just leave that. I'll just wait for the dust to settle. But this is the 61.8%, so that's where we're coming to. We'll need to do some more work on to this just to make sure that to see if we've got this right in the right place here for this. So we'll just see if indeed this is going to be an ABC correction or some other weird thing, but I think we're on pretty much on track here for this. Look, I won't even bother going in here, but I can tell you it's going to go further down, you know, because it's broken that low here, so that makes that corrective. That will be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and so on into here. Maybe I've got to have a look now. I think I even started something on that. Yeah, so it'll be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Maybe I can get that into there. I'll have to go and have a closer look at that. But yeah, something's not good here at the moment. So yeah, let's just anyway, I need to go back over a few things and double check everything and so on and so on. So we'll just see how that goes. We're still within group 2 here. We have taken that lower. That was one of the important things. So the market is moving into group 2. So one of the things that we'll be looking for is to see if this 165 can hold it. You know, it can trade below it, but getting back up there, because it may because that's for the job of group 2 at, you know, when we're talking about 200 here, the job is group 1 top will hold it to it, and then this will hold, this will be the support here. Now it can spike below it, as long as it doesn't retest it as the retested resistance, then it's fine. So it could spike down to 163 is a nice number, the 3, and bounce back from that. But if that becomes the resistance, then we need to be talking about coming down to the 148 to the 14650, the group 2 of the 150 area here. Okay, so one sort of two steps here, really, you know, in terms of the trading levels, which can be handy, you know, because if you know your numbers, you know what the next. If you know one number, then you'll know the next number. So if the 65 becomes the retested resistance, and we know would be down at the 50. If we're at the 50, we know 148's likely and 146.50. But anyway, it's nice to see that this has actually clarified itself in one way or another. And I'm not going to bother about this until I understand the banks. And it's in understanding the banks, we've got BAC here. It's going to hug the 30 here for quite some time, and I just need to see if there's going to be an A and a B and a C, or this moves down here is going to be corrective and then we push to the upside. I don't know that yet. And if it does push to the upside, then that's going to quite simply give us, if it does that, then that's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And if it does give us 5 waves, well, then it's going to have a correction here. And then after those 5 waves here, we have to build in long positions here. That's all I know at this point, you know. So because I'm unsure. I can see that this could be countered, and as somebody pointed out to me, that, you know, it can be a WXY and we've got a low in place, and that's possible, but I can't prove that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to prove my moves, so I can't do that yet. So but 5 waves here, that means that we can, you know, be long at that point. That's all. I mean, I don't particularly, you know, marry a particular side of the market unless I've got unless there's a lot of boxes ticked, you know. So, you know, I just keep moving on little bits of evidence. So Johnson & Johnson here. So yeah, look, originally I thought there was like 1, 2, 3 here, and then we'll go for 4 and 5, and it could still be the case. But then I had a look at this had a look at this on, so now I'm kind of, I'm not quite sure yet, but I mean, I think we could be like this or another little move here. Now, we'll go and have a look at that. But I do like this pattern here. Do you know what I mean? I do like, as an ABC pattern, I do like it, you know, but all we need is a clear, you know, trade setup and so on. We're on 65 here, so it reacted to the 65 in group 2 here. But if it found that as support, well, then I'd be kind of inclined to start building a very small position into that with the view of taking the top out. So going from 10,000 ticks to 10 ticks here, and I did start pulling it apart. So let's just get some more data in here. So I was thinking here that, I mean, 1 and 2 is pretty clear. And then I started to look, I need to go over this, but 1 and 2 here, and then wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here for the third, fourth, and the fifth for the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So that kind of gives us the 5 waves up we're looking for. This would be the A wave here. I could also put the A wave here as well, but I haven't pulled that apart and checked that just yet. Not that it's a big deal at this point. This is 163. That's kind of important, that 163, because 165 is important because it's part of group 2. But if 63 becomes a retested support, then I know that the market won't be pulled to the closest largest number. It'll be pulled to the 5. So that gives us a half a city. And if it's going to be pulled to the 5, then we could put that wave C in over here. But I can't do that at the moment because this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to come to the downside. So I'm not quite sure just yet about all of this, but just to let you know, I'm looking at it because we kind of want to build into this a little bit, you know, because the bigger picture is telling us that there's a possible trend that's starting, you know. So I'm just trying to refine it to get into that. So that's about it. So I'll leave that at that. And thank you for putting up with me once again. And that's where we are. And I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.